Good morning, everybody. This song, Living the Light, is going to be the perfect song for you to center in when we get into our humanness of being human. We're going to mull through this a little bit today. Because I've noticed over the past couple of weeks that I've just noticed that there's a lot of criticism or judgment or rash decisions or conclusions that we come to, and it reminded me of a book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And in one of those agreements is, do not make assumptions. And I got to thinking about how many times when the stress meter raises that I automatically start story making and making assumptions, and then I have to back myself up because I've made some assumptions. And I'm reminded that when we judge, because we hold the same characteristics. So if we're pointing at somebody and making an assumption or they're behaving a certain way, we recognize that because in some manner it's in us. And I sat with that for a long time because I was like, I see somebody, if they're like, you take it to the extreme, like, oh, they're a murderer. I'm not. No, I'm not mirroring that. Unless you look at it metaphysically, how many times do we press somebody down, not allow somebody to be their full authentic self, or manipulate a situation so that way you're killing the natural flow of something instead of allowing it to be and moving into that surrender moment? So you could kind of take a look at it metaphysically, do a little bit of soul searching and digging to help us become better humans. And it kind of reminded me of one of the Bible verses out of Matthew 7:3-5. It'll be familiar to you, I promise. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take that speck out of your eye, when at the same time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will clearly see and remove the speck from your brother's eye. Breathe. Because this is meant to make us uncomfortable so that we can grow as better humans. And if you are a Gen Z person, you know that if you see a picture like this and there is tea, it's about to get juicy. Because that is the new for there's some gossip about to be spilled. And in the Hebrew scriptures, Nathan was a prophet, and he was telling a parable to King David about the rich man with many flocks who takes a single beloved lamb from a poor man to feed to his guests. And David was enraged by this injustice. He was so angry, and he's like, I can't believe that somebody would do this, that this would happen. And Nathan looks at him and says, it's you. And I couldn't imagine what a humbling experience that would be, and that it had to be brought to somebody through story to be able to realize, oh, I need to put myself in check. And here's where the tea is. David killed Uriah and stole his wife, Bathsheba. Yeah. And it's interesting because in lineage, it put everything into deity perspective and kings and all down the line. But it's for us in that opportunity to realize, when do we miss the mark? You know, if you make a bad choice, doesn't make you a bad person. You just miss the mark. So we do that inner soul searching to bring us back to center, back to our divine awareness. And so I got to looking at this metaphysically. So Nathan was a prophet. Metaphysically, that means understanding the truth with a capital T. King David is divine love in human consciousness. Bathsheba is the fulfillment, the rest related to the number 7. Naming literally means oath. and Uriah, Lord is my light, Jehovah. So at what point in time do we are all that divine love? We are that. So at what point in time, sometimes in our humanness, do we not operate out of love as the first go-to? And then we do things that we probably wouldn't normally do if we were operating from the love center. And so metaphysically, you're like, oh, I squished my God light so I could get what I wanted. And so it gives us an opportunity to kind of really dig into and see where we are behaving from personality and individuality. So personality is the way we behave as humans in our animalistic consciousness. A lot of people say monkey mind. And then individuality with a capital I, is the way we express in our divine higher self consciousness. It is our true self. It is our true nature. It is who we are. It is that love and light of the world, is what we sang about earlier. And I got to thinking, like, how does this happen? Like, we're wired this way for a reason. We're wired to make stories for a purpose. And then I realized that there is a game of hot potato that our brain plays. Because the first time we receive information, we have to determine if that information is a threat. And so we automatically start at the thalamus and go, oh, potential threat. That thought is hot potatoed over to the amygdala. And the amygdala gets to determine, is it a threat, is it not? So it sends information to the cortex, and that's where we get to story making. And that's where we get to go, oh, it could be this, it could be that, or where you see, like a good instance is you hear a loud bang popping noise, and your primitive mind self wants to duck and run until the potato is tossed to the amygdala, then to the cortex, when you realize, oh, that was a truck driving down the street, it backfired. And then it tosses it back to the amygdala that says, calm down, it's just a truck, it's all good. And so all of these are important for us to be able to survive, for us to be able to behave. And it's important that in order for us to make better choices, that we remain centered. And I've become to realize this week, because my brain is an ADHD wired brain. It has information going 90 to nothing most of the time when my eyes are open. And I figured out that is why God wakes me up at 2:30 in the morning to go, Leslie, here's your next talk. Because there's nothing triggered things going on in there. My mind is... And so that let me know this week, perhaps maybe, just perhaps, I should spend a little bit more time in that meditation state, even if it's 5 minutes in the middle of my workday, so that I could allow the noise to move along, or at least to organize in a file if it would. That'd be nice. And so this human nature part of us, it reminded me of a story from when I was little, of a perfect situation where somebody went into complete react mode before all the information was processed. Mom, Sarah, I'm sorry. I was about 4 or 5. Sarah was almost 2 or 2. Sarah's my little sister. And I had spent all my time as a little kid watching what mom and dad do. I want to mirror what mom and dad do. So I saw mom and dad brushing their teeth, and I saw them get the scope, and I saw them take a swig, I saw them swish, I saw them spit. I saw them rinse with water and spit. And so I was like, oh, I could do that. So I grabbed it, swished, spit, and that bottle, I can clearly remember it. It was an almost empty bottle. So my mom went into the bathroom, and she saw that some of it was out. And she panicked, and she came, who drank the scope? And I said, I didn't, because I didn't. I spit it out. And so I'm like, I didn't. And so Mom made the assumption that Sarah did. And my sweet baby sister had to take some Ipecac. And I can clearly remember her releasing the toxin that wasn't in her body and processing that as a little kid, but looking back at it as a grown-up, I'm like, I was the one with the minty fresh breath. But Mom reacted as a mom would. If the older kid didn't do it, then the younger kid must have done it. So Operation Save the Child from all kinds of stuff. And for some miracle, Sarah and I are still best friends. Luckily, because I don't think she remembers the moment. She just gets to replay the story because she was still in diapers. But it's that little childhood story that lets us know, like, how many times in our life do we not get the full picture or not get the full story, and then we go assumption making, story making, and casting blame. And then how many times, if the story is true, whatever it is, and it's something we're not comfortable with, are we brave enough to take the time to go, where do I find that in myself? It takes bravery to do that, to really soul search. You just have to stand tall, put those shoulders back, and do it, and do the work. Because when you do, it makes your world a lot easier. And it makes our world a lot easier, because then sometimes when you go, oh, I see that, somebody's operating out of fear mode, which causes them to do this, I get scared sometimes. Perhaps they're just scared about something. So in the end, when we do the work for ourselves, it makes the world around us and the people that we have relationship with a lot easier. Richard Billings was a Unity minister in Unity of Oak Park for over 50 years. Like, when I read this, I was like, wow, 50 years, same place. I got goosebumps. And this is one of the quotes that I came across that I just love. Life is the mirror of the universe, reflecting the patterns man holds for himself. True, we are hesitant to give up our bodies for fear that we shall lose identity. Identity is only found when we are no longer submerged in personality and confused by the complex information revealed by the senses. One day, we shall know ourselves for what we are: indestructible spiritual substance. That's a pretty cool affirmation. I am indestructible spiritual substance. So no matter what those stories get tossed at you, no matter what meaning-making we're making out of life, we can rest in the fact that when we get down to our divine nature, we're indestructible. Spiritual substance. So how do we get to this space, to this place? Slow down. And that is so hard to do in this fast-paced world. Information comes to us every time we pick up our cell phones, because we have an itty-bitty computer that can tell us all the things that we never really needed to know. It could tell us the things we want to know, but we have this bombardment of information that is algorithmically cued to push our buttons. Buy this buttons. This will make you happy buttons. This will get under your crawl buttons. This will make you want to shout buttons. It's like, and I invite us to just slow down and breathe. Because sometimes the pushy of the buttons is manipulation. And we're easily manipulated when we're not centered. And the people who are manipulating aren't centered. Otherwise, you wouldn't. So it's this very circular way of life. And so when we take that time to slow down, then we can reflect. And allowing those times to reflect gives you questions like what's on your journal prompt and your insert. So your homework this week that I'm giving you is to pick a situation. It could be a real life situation in your life. It could be a news headline. And this is what happens when you look at things not metaphysically, but myotically. Where do you find yourself in the story? What are the facts? That means like no opinions. This person did this. This thing happened. Here is the outcome, and it is. There's no disputing it. It just is. You're leaving the personality and the colorful adjectives out of it. Am I in the story? And if I am, what's my role? How am I reflecting the other players? How am I like the other people in the story? I may not be in this instance, but maybe there were other times when I were. How did my body respond to the situation? So did my heart rate rise? Could I feel this pounding in my chest? Was it hard to breathe? Was it hard to talk? Was it hard to say your piece? Did you feel hot? Did you feel cold? Pay attention to your body because it gives you good signals. And those signals, like if your heart is racing fast for whatever reason, that might be a good time to hit the brakes and pause. Could these initial experiences be a reaction to a situational stimuli instead of a response? Did something happen to us in the past that's causing us to make an assumption about a story? Do I have work to do here? Perhaps I drew some conclusions or I assumed. Perhaps I didn't get the entire story. Maybe I'm seeing something out of context. And then as I reflect, how can this bring forth my Christ center, my individuality versus my personality? And when you've done all that good work and that good processing, then we can release what doesn't serve us. We don't need to take the parts of the story with us that continue to irritate us. We can let them go and let them do their own thing. I prefer to have negative energy transmuted into something positive. And then give thanks for the lesson learned. Because all things, even the things that don't appear good at the time, they weren't caused to bring forth your new revelation, but you can put good in the situation by bringing something good forth out of it, our growth, our spiritual growth. And then take action. What is ours to do in this? Is there some forgiveness work? Is there some self-care work? Is there some, oh my gosh, I just need some downtime from all of this work? And take that time into meditation to discern what is ours to do. What is ours to stay centered and stay balanced so that we become responsive and not reactive. And know it about yourself. I know for me, if I get hot, and it takes a lot to get me hot, but when I do, I truly take 3 days for me to, it just has how my body works. I have to process the information. I have to mull over the information. So I know for me, if I'm really fired up about something or really riled up about something, I do not respond until I'm allowed myself to process those things because it's better for me and it's better for the people around me. And so with this, the affirmation for this week is I am self-aware and express my individuality. I am self-aware and I express my individuality. I am self-aware and express my individuality. I am self-aware and express my individuality. And for those of you who are new, we do say those 3 times because when you say it 3 times, it gets it in, you embody it better. Because the first time you're saying it, because there's words on the screen, okay, I said it. Next time you're connecting better to it. And by the 3rd time, it's resonating, like you can feel it in your body. At least my body did. I got some goosebumps. So We are, in our true nature, in our true being, because I missed something, so I'm going back, so bear with me. We're not broken. We're not bad because we jump to conclusions on something. We are that light of the world, but if we want the world to heal, we got to start with ourselves first. In the first song, it was that we are living the light. We are the true nature. There's nothing in our true nature that needs to be healed whatsoever, not a thing. But when we get in that monkey mind, we know that there sometimes needs to be a healing going on so that we can bring ourselves back to center. And we do that when we shine on, y'all.